What is up, LinkedIn? Happy Sunday. And today I'm going to share an important tip on how to crush it in sales that I think people take for granted. And that is always follow up over and over again, even if you don't get a response. I think if I could break down any of my success over the past 17 years selling into one thing, it's probably persistence. It's not hard work. It's not necessarily skill or ability or charisma. It is persistence. I've asked clients, why'd you do business with me? And they said, because you stayed on top of me, right? And the moral of the story, and I'm going to give you some good examples of how to do this in a way that's not pushy, but it's not about who is the best that is going to win. It's about who is present and who is available when the timing aligns, and simply when a client's ready. And just because someone doesn't call you back or seem interested doesn't mean they're not. They're just busy. People have their priorities that are immediately in front of them, and then they have their long-term strategic priorities, things that are further down the road that they've always wanted to do, but they just haven't gotten around to doing, and they know it's important for them. So if you know that you sell a product or service that is in that strategic bucket that someone might not need today, but ultimately they need for their business, listen up, because this is gonna serve you really well. My first year in Salesforce, I'd been selling copiers for 10 years, really grinding it out, tough transactional type business, and I switched over to strategic sales in Salesforce. I was totally lost in terms of how to sell and really make a huge income in Salesforce, because I just didn't have that experience and I hadn't sold software before. And yet I still finished over 100% in my first year. And the way that I did that is I called one client. It was the CIO of a hospital system, probably 20 plus times, and I sent him at least 20 emails. And he had told me he wasn't interested in the first thing that I'd sent him, which was, a product specifically for medical. And he said, no, we're fine there. And then I sent him something more on social collaboration. He's like, well, I don't know if we really need that, but can you send me some customers? And I sent him some customers. And he's like, well, that's not really what we're doing. And then I stayed on top of him, and he's like, well, you're not HIPAA compliant. So I kind of took over that. Well, this continued on and on for maybe 6 months before he said, finally, okay, I'll meet with you. And then when we met with him, he was ready to go. I mean, he was just in a position where he had been wanting to do this for a long time. And he sat with me and he said, look, thanks for staying on top of me. You're different than anyone else I met in software because you won't take no for an answer. And this is something I've really wanted to do. So thank you for, staying on top of me and not giving up. This is why we're going to do business together. And I ended up closing a $2.5 million deal, 3-year contract. My first year in Salesforce exceeded my plan simply because I had contacted him so many times. Even though I didn't know everything about what I was selling or the value proposition or wasn't so polished, that persistence paid off. Now, I'll give you another example as a consumer. Right now, I'm really making investments in 2 key areas. One is for my home. I'm redoing the backyard, the front yard, landscaping, putting a pool in. And so I've had to deal with a lot of contractors. And the contractors, I kid you not, 9 out of 10 people, whether it's for the pool or for the outdoor sound system or the landscaping, 9 out of 10 don't call me back after they give a bid. And the ones that have are the ones that I've done business with. So even as a consumer, just like if you really want my business, follow up. That's the first example. Second example is in real estate. I've been making investments in apartment complexes and out-of-state real estate investments. And I literally spent 2 days with one realtor in Dallas a few months ago, and he was great. Spent a lot of time with me. We talked once after, and I haven't heard from him since. Well, what happened is I have another another executive that I know who does syndicated investment properties, and he'll get investors together and do apartment complexes in an investment trust versus just me owning the apartment complex. I talked to him, met with him a few times. We had coffee together. He's been following up with me. I just spent all of my investment with him directly versus the guy in Dallas that was showing me apartments. And it's solely because he's available. Sometimes the best ability, Ed Milet says this, who I love, a motivational guy, the best ability is availability, meaning you are there around and you are present and you pick up your phone and you call people back and you do what you say you're going to do and you follow up. So that is my key tip of the day, is just make sure, just because it's not rejection. If they didn't say, no, I'm not doing business with you, forget about it. If they just don't get back to you or they don't answer the phone, you just got to stay on top of them over and over and over again, because people believe it or not, will appreciate you calling. If it's something that they ultimately want to do, but they just have other priorities in front of them, they are going to respect it. And eventually you're going to get on the phone and they're going to say, thank you. Let's really do this. I've been meaning to do it. I need to do it. Thank you for staying on top of me. And sure enough, they'll know that you're for real, because you didn't just pitch them and disappear like 90% of the other sales reps out there. So take that advice. It'll double, I'm not kidding, I think it'll double your income at least if you follow up with every single opportunity and see it through and don't give up until they say no. All right, you guys, have an awesome rest of the day.